One of the things that we need to do is communicate with the immigrant families, ensure that there are facilities available to them that speak in their language, because many people immigrate here from conditions that aren't the same as we have today, and they're used to having their children go to work as opposed to continuing education. What we need to do is first educate the parents and allow them the opportunity to hear it in their own language. So we need an infrastructure that speaks in the language of the immigrant to ensure that they understand how they can move their children into higher and better places in regards to their education. We need to increase the budget from the federal level to the provincial level, and right down to the municipal level, so that the school system, the education system, has the funds to provide the tools and the experience that these children need to move forward. Going through school, I noticed that we were underfunded. We were working with technology that by the time we went out, it was outdated. When we went into the workforce, we didn't understand, because technology was moving so far ahead of what was available to us and what was made available to us at our school. So we need to ensure that the tools are there for our children so that they may one day be world-class leaders, moving our economy forward and ensuring that Canada has the best technologists and has the best workforce on an international playing field.
Janice?
It's not been my experience that immigrants don't know the value of post-secondary education for their young people. That, I would say, the opposite is true. In fact, Maclean's magazine, got into a lot of trouble with our city council, by suggesting it's Canadian-born parents who are lacking in the motivation for their young people. What I see as the barrier for students is cost. Tuition is too high for most students. And as someone who's worked in Seneca College education for 24 years, I can tell you that I have never seen as many students dropping out because of the cost as I did before. Before, students used to drop out 20 years ago because they were partying too much and maybe didn't, make the grades. Today, it's because they can't afford or they have to work full-time while they're going to school, and that puts so much pressure on their studies. The NDP wants to put a lot of money into reducing tuition in the first place. Before the Harper government and all the draconian changes and the 40% cuts, unfortunately, from the Liberal Party to education and health care, if you looked at the medical students, half were from wealthy families and half were from lower income families. It was, that's fair, because I expect when people are wealthier, they can put their kids through school longer. But still, half of those people were from low income families. Now, the number of medical students coming from low-income families is less than 20%. So this shows us that there are extreme barriers. We also need to target more grants, because education isn't just about paying tuition. I'm paying my daughter's rent, I'm paying for her food. It would be much better if she could have studied, but her program is not here in this area. So, it's a huge cost, and we need to give grants to Aboriginal students, to low-income students, to groups of people where participation in post-secondary education has been a problem.
All right, Louis, I do believe you have a lot of own experience. So please share with us.
Yes, well, I have four kids, and they're between the age of 21 and 26. 3 of them are in university or have gone through university, and 3 of them have gone through college as well. So it's the same 4 kids. don't add them up, please. So I know the cost of education, and it is becoming prohibitive. And I know as an immigrant to Canada, my parents did not come to Canada for themselves. They came to Canada to give my brother and I an opportunity. And the only way they saw the opportunity could be had is through education. So if we make education only for the rich, we will not have a good, Canada will not be prosperous, because the jobs, the manual jobs that are needed for those without the education are disappearing. They're not here anymore. So we need to move from doing the footwork to handwork to mind work. We need to move up to the people with higher education, whether it's college, whether it's getting into the trades such as electrician, plumbing, to becoming educated in the universities, whether it's liberal arts or becoming a professional such as a doctor, an accountant, a scientist, a lecturer, whatever it is. We need to move up there. In order to move up there, what we are proposing is we will pay every student entering college and university $4,000 unless they come from a very poor family. Then we will provide them with a $6,000 grant. And that will be over and above the existing programs such as the grants and the student loans and so on and so forth.
Let me give you some concrete numbers, okay? Tuition fee has gone up 10 times since I graduated from my university program, okay? And subsidies, grants, scholarships are dwindling. I'm in the university environment, okay? And many scholarships actually require Canadian citizenship. Another roadblock for immigrant family. Yes, yes. You know, nowadays, in order to apply for Canadian citizenship, it takes anywhere from 159 days to 20 months, okay? So what can be done to expedite this process of getting a citizenship for our young immigrant students?
There are a lot of blockage to improve education, to my understanding. You have the vision, you have the idea, but it won't work. Just give you one example. The chiropractic college, they said they need only 4 or 5 subjects. They can make them as doctors. But there are people there that say, as far as I'm in this world, no way you can get a degree.
All right, let's hear the comments from our candidates.
Well, I believe, for one, and the Green Party believes, that we need to focus our attention on reducing the red tape that is involved in getting a degree, first of all. And secondly, we also need to ensure that once these children are in their fields, that they have a job here at home. We didn't immigrate to Canada, ladies and gentlemen, so that our children could go into Europe and work, or back to Asia. We immigrated to Canada so that we can plant our roots here. And we need to ensure that not only are our children getting the education they deserve, they're getting the jobs that they deserve as well, and that there's an infrastructure there so that they do have these quality jobs to take us into the next generation. What I'm finding today is that many people are going to university and they're coming out and they're working in a big box store or in a hamburger place or in a coffee shop because they don't have the place to work. They don't have the facilities there available for their education. They're overqualified, they say. Well, we need to start focusing our attention on not only providing our children with the tools they need, but also with the places to work.
Specifically to answer your question, though, the one thing I have done, and I consider this a personal achievement, is fought very hard for the right of international and non-citizen students to be able to work, you know, around their school while they're going to school. I mean, the prejudice used to be, if you're an international student, you must be rich, you don't need to work, you're taking jobs of Canadians. But I'm seeing, you know, in many cases, someone is being sent here by a whole village, you know, so that they can build a better life. I fought hard with that with all the presidents of the colleges and kept arguing about it. When I was invited to government to talk on behalf of my union, I know they're not giving anything to the union those days, so I asked for the right for students, many of them Chinese, to be able to work in the community while they're going to school. And this helps to get your immigration faster because it's very hard to get citizenship when you don't have a job, or to sponsor a wife, you know, or a mother when you don't have a job. So we need to get people working in good jobs while they're going to school, and that's one way we can help.
Janice, that change came about in the 204 to 206 while Paul Martin was the Prime Minister, and I remember being on the Immigration Committee at the time, and we heard from many stakeholders around the country about the issues, about the problems that foreign students were having. or new immigrants. And that was basically that they could not work, nor could they stay after they graduated from Canadian universities. They could not stay even in Canada. So we changed those regulations. So we allowed them to be able to stay to work for 2 years, after which they can apply for permanent residence in Canada if they chose to. Many of them don't. They just come to study here and they pay double the tuition fees of our Canadian children, and they go back to their own country. But that was a change that we made. In terms of the citizenship, if they become residents after 2 years, then the clock starts ticking for 900 or 1,000 days after that.
New Canadians pay more money for tuition than any other Canadians, and they should have the right to compete for grants and everything else out there. I mean, we use them, you know, to fund our colleges and our universities. It's time to give back.
The essence of my question.
All right. We are looking for a closing statement after break. Coming up.